It's very easy to have our sense of happiness, our sense of well-being, depend on what we probably consider to be the big things in life. Because we're so used to looking at the big and valuing the big and impressive, we very often fail to see the small. And in failing to see it, we therefore fail to gain any appreciation of it and enjoyment from it. We fail to experience God in the ordinary, which is where God usually reveals himself to us. Learning to engage fully with the ordinary experiences of life will hugely increase the sense of the value of our lives because, to state what is pretty obvious, most of us spend most of our times in the very ordinary experiences of our lives. The big and the impressive is a very rare part of the lives of most people. We experienced our horizons being very contracted during lockdown, and even now travel remains somewhat restricted. Our lives feel smaller. But instead of just mourning that loss and feeling miserable, a better route is to learn to expand our experience of the ordinary, which is around us all the time. Learning to engage fully with that which is right in front of our noses all the time. And learning to see and hear God in that. I remember a time when my son was about 3 and we lived opposite quite a large park in Liverpool. And we used to go and walk in the park, and one of these walks, when we got home, I noticed that David had got this handful of grass. Nothing surprising there particularly. So we got in the house and he wanted to put it in a vase. I was somewhat reluctant to have this bunch of grass in a vase. For what you would probably agree with fairly obvious reasons. It's a bunch of grass. We don't want it in a vase. Anyway, he persuaded me. He wanted to talk at it, so we looked at it and we talked about the grass. And I realised that through his child's eyes, he could see what I could not. That what I was seeing as just this bunch of, well, it's grass, it's boring. What he could see was that they were individual stalks with their own character, with their own particular nature. They in fact were different species, different varieties of grass in that bunch. And so I eventually agreed with him that it was worth putting these in a vase on display. And in that just very small, very mundane parental anecdote, I have to admit that my son opened up to me something which I was simply not seeing. We find Jesus working along these lines in one of his famous teachings. Jesus said, "Consider how the wild flowers grow. They do not labour or spin, yet I tell you, not even Solomon in all his splendour was dressed like one of these." In looking carefully, so much more is revealed. So just like the grass that my son had collected, and in this careful looking at what is there, God can be experienced as present in the intricate beauty we can find in that mundane. And so when the grass is studied carefully and engaged, instead of just being it where it's just this background green stuff that surrounds us in a park. When we look, when we see, when we engage, we can have a profound sense of the deeply benevolent force behind things. There is such intricate beauty in something so ordinary and ignored, unlooked at, unnoticed, uninteresting. It's just grass. But as we're brought into contact with the simple and the beautiful and the interesting that is right in front of us, we can value it, have our lives enriched by that beauty. And this can then also reflect back on ourselves and those loved ones with whom we spend all our time. By bringing our vision to that which is right in front of us, seeing it in a new light and appreciating it, we can be led to seeing ourselves in a new light and seeing those with whom we share our lives also in a new light. We finish with a prayer. Loving Heavenly Father, thank you for this wonderful world in which we live. Help us to see all we have around us, the people in our lives, the food we eat, the small, beautiful things in life that we normally miss. Lead us to see your creation, see you in your creation, and be thankful. Amen.